From year to year, month to month, week to week, and day to day, people across the world are obsessed with a phenomenon that is professional wrestling. But why? 101 Reasons to Love Professional Wrestling. There are many components of professional wrestling that should be both understood and celebrated, in no particular order. Hardcore. The noun hardcore has a few meanings. It's the most active or committed members of a group or movement. It's also defined as explicit and extreme. In professional wrestling, the term hardcore is reserved for the extreme use of weapons in an effort to claim victory. However, the use of weapons in battle is not exclusive to professional wrestling. Accessorized combat has been around since cavemen learned that rocks do indeed hurt. There is even hardcore warfare in the Bible. The world's most best-selling book features the likes of axes, bows and arrows, clubs, daggers, maces, spears, and swords. In some cases, weapon usage can even be considered high art. In professional wrestling, there have been no-holds-barred and hardcore matches since the 1950s and 60s. These brawls would be under street fight, cage, and bull rope match rules, among others. In most cases, a hardcore stipulation match is reserved to settle a long-term blood feud, but some wrestlers have turned these not-so-random acts of violence into their identity and norm. Hardcore would evolve across the world as the likes of The Sheik, Abdullah the Butcher, Carlos Colon, Terry Funk, and Bruiser Brody all made names for themselves and their promotions by going to a physical extreme to thrill the crowd. In the late 1980s, FMW was formed, a Japanese-based company with a focus on death matches. Then in the 1990s came Extreme Championship Wrestling, a company that became an American alternative with the likes of the homicidal, suicidal, and genocidal Sabu, the original gangster New Jack, and of course the hardcore legend himself, Cactus Jack, to name a few, paved the way for hardcore wrestling in America. ECW's edgy content would influence the WWF's Attitude Era. The WWF jumped right on the hardcore bandwagon with the use of tables, ladders, chairs, trash cans and shopping carts, and even sledgehammers and mannequin heads. And in modern times, these weapons are still being used, but now with equal opportunity for carnage. At the same time, the deathmatch counterculture and hardcore tributes are just as prominent today. After ECW, companies like IWA Mid-South, Extreme Pro Wrestling or XPW, and CZW have carried the hardcore and deathmatch baton. In the latest evolutions of hardcore, Game Changer Wrestling has stepped up to the plate. They are not shy to use barbed wire, violent contraptions, and even beds of nails. Hardcore is definitely still part of the mainstream. All Elite Wrestling does not seem to hesitate in using graphic violence and staple-gunned cigarettes to get eyes on their product. And it would be safe to say that Impact Wrestling definitely has a hardcore edge to it. And obviously, so does the House of Hardcore promotion, a company ran by the innovator of violence himself, Tommy Dreamer. We professional wrestling fans can get a little wild sometimes, but sometimes it can get a little too far. The stunned emotion of a crimson mask is part of our legacy. But that's what it's all about. Hardcore is emotion. And sometimes that emotion is psychotic. It's doing whatever it takes to defeat your opponent, even at one's own physical expense. True fans know that hardcore isn't just swinging weapons and drawing blood. They know it's an attitude. It's a way of life. It's just not giving a damn. But if there's a weapon in hand, anyone can be hardcore.